philosopher, spiritual mentor, whatever. I mean, all these things are possible when you are maximizing your energy and your light. So in the last 15 or 20 minutes here, let's literally just talk about how people can use supplements, DHA, some of the other things that your company at Ascent sells, to alter their life. And again, let me just set the precedent that, look, again, supplements are adjuncts. I mean, I probably have this conversation 50 times a day. There is no magic pill or bullet for any of us. Lifestyle, which is, inflammation free, building muscle. Muscle is the greatest deterrent to the diseases of aging. And I don't mean bodybuilder, bulky muscle. I mean not having too much body fat, which is what causes inflammation. So, if you have those processes dialed in, then the things that Lance and I sell and, make the public aware about are that much more or that much better, because you can now optimize your health. But again, always remember that there is a gradient here, and you do have to have the fundamentals, somewhat dialed in. You can't be, again, like I said, a steaming pile of dumpster fire and expect to take DHA or any of the things that we say and see a visible difference. Not that it wouldn't help you, but like, obviously get your foundation set before you start talking. But let's talk about DHA. Go.
So over the past, really several years, Jay, I really started learning a lot about neurogenesis and like, what are some things that are actually going to help the brain, help the nervous system, and, help us on fundamental levels. Yep. And, like we've talked about, and like you just said, there's so many different foods and nutrients and compounds that will stimulate neurogenesis and will help the brain. But, something that I've really been looking into specifically is let's go to the fundamentals. Like you talked about the fundamentals of reducing inflammation, exercising, reducing body fat, eating well, getting water, like that Icelandic water. That's actually the water I'm drinking right now too. Low in deuterium, by the way, people.
That's right.
And, going to the fundamentals. Okay. And so if you look at human physiology in the brain and nervous system, fats are clearly fundamental. But what is the most fundamental fat? It's DHA. Okay. Right. And so if we go to the food chain, we go to the oceans, DHA is created from algae, and algae is at the bottom of the food pyramid. It's where it's part of, let's say, where life begins. I mean, I know that it's water is involved and there's other things involved with it, but just from a conversational standpoint, algae is at the base of the food pyramid. And right. Then, other, let's say, fish, and then other animals are consuming other animals and just going up the food chain. Okay. But the algae is creating this DHA. Okay. And in us humans, we are dependent on DHA. So the brain, 90% of the omega-3s in the brain needs to be DHA. Right. Okay. This is docosahexaenoic acid. And what this means is we need this in the brain, not just like we should get it or it's beneficial to get it. We actually need it. Right. Okay. So this is why the fish oil topic has been so heavily promoted, and why there's so many amazing studies out there about omega-3s and fish oils and algae oils, because our human physiology needs it. Okay. And so the neurons actually, the cellular membranes need DHA in it. Okay. And so what that means is it's a structural, fundamental component of neurons and of the whole brain and nervous system. So if we're not getting enough DHA, the brain and nervous system isn't working as well. Now, right. DHA, like we've talked about, is also loaded in the eyes. And as we talked about earlier, the photons from the sun literally is the DHA is capturing these photons, converting it into an electrical signal then that the brain reads. And so this is a mind-blowing fact. Jay, if we didn't have DHA in our bodies right now, you and I and everyone else, you and I would not be able to have this conversation, because we wouldn't be able to see, hear, think, compute, recall, speak, do any of it. And that's literally. Now, of course, there's other compounds. I'm not saying that this is the only thing that we need. That we know that's not true. But from a fatty acid standpoint, it is the most important fatty acid. And as you've talked about with inflammation, and people know about fish oils and omega-3s, it's actually turning on the expression of genes, the COX genes specifically, that reduce inflammation. Okay. And then, as we've also talked about with BDNF, DHA is very unique in that it's stimulating neurogenesis in several different ways. So like there's some compounds, let's say like lion's mane mushroom, is going to stimulate neurogenesis through NGF and BDNF. DHA is doing it through NGF production, BDNF production, synaptomide production, like we talked about. It's doing it through regulating the SCN, which is like the brain's pacemaker, the chiasmatic nucleus. This is the part near the hypothalamus where it's literally regulating the cycles of light and dark. And so it's really, quite incredible stuff. And it's also known that when mothers consume DHA in abundant amounts or healthy amounts, their children develop stronger, quicker, faster, and their IQs go up.
Right.
And this is also relates to athletes and just people in general. Athletes who are consuming enough DHA, they've shown this in so many studies that their reaction time's quicker, their motor response pathways are more finely tuned, they're going to recover quicker. TBI sort of issues can be attenuated in, let's say a healthier way. So DHA, again, is this needed compound in the brain and nervous system that we have to get in enough amounts. So I've been looking at what are these healthy amounts, because this information is out there, but it's not talked about enough. So in 2019, which was like sort of like the last update with the NOAA, and this is literally 2019, and we know why. They're looking at DHA consumption amongst humans primarily through salmon, because that's like the best way to get it from seafood, salmon and oysters. People are only getting about 250 milligrams a day, if even that. And so we need to get more like 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of DHA per day to actually raise the omega-3 index percentage, which that's a well-respected international test showing how if you get 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams a day, you're going to raise your omega-3 index percentage in the red blood cell membranes from, let's say, the average American is around 3 to 4%, whereas healthy levels to actually elicit beneficial effects physiologically is anywhere from 8 to 12%. And so to actually do that, if you take 1 gram to 2 grams a day, you can raise those levels over a period of 3 to 6 months based on the studies that have taken place. Now, of course, you need to tie in exercise, need to cut out the crap food, and, mindset, getting light, exercise, all this sort of stuff ties into it. So the whole point is that people use fish oils. We know that. But there's a better way to do it. And this is sort of what I've been working on, is going to the source. Like we talked about the source of light. Why do we need the middlemen? We don't need, people who are preaching to us, let's say about the word of God or the Son of God. We just go directly to the source. And so what we're doing with Ascent Nutrition is we go to the source. We go to the algae and we do a water-based extraction to get this DHA, this golden oil that is abundant in DHA, a little bit of EPA, and small amounts of all the other little fatty acids. And when we have that, we bypass the inefficiencies of the fish oil industry. And this isn't about veganism versus non-veganism. Literally about what's the source. Like, let's just go to the source and cut out the crap. Like, why do we want heavy metals? Why do we want PCBs? Why do we want pesticides in fish oils? We don't need it. Let's just go to the source. And so what we've created, Jay, is this algae oil DHA product. And this truly is a clean product. We actually post our third-party test results showing no pesticides, no heavy metals, no crap in it. And if you go and look and you ask any fish oil company, do you think, Jay, that they're going to show you their
No,
test results?
no, no
Exactly.
supplement company is going to show you anything. I mean, it's like I said, it's very difficult to find anybody in the supplement industry that's about transparency and authenticity. And in the defense of a lot of people who are good people in the supplement industry, how do you know unless you test every single independent batch? You can't even trust the people that are the manufacturers because they could send you something that's 99.8% pure HLPC. And then the next batch, you're not checking it and it's 46% or 65. I mean, on and on it goes. But yeah, dude, like that's obviously important. But let me just ask for the people that don't care about you and me geeking out about what we're talking about at this point. How does somebody get your product? How do they take it? How do they incorporate it into their current, lifestyle? Obviously knowing that they have to have the fundamentals in play.
Yeah. So our website, Ascent Nutrition, which is goascentnutrition.com. Jay, I believe that you have the link. If not, the link will be there.
Does JC still work?
That link may not work at
Well, we'll
this
put
point.
it in the show notes. It doesn't matter, but it's goascentnutrition.com. Don't worry
Yeah.
about my link or my code, but there is going to be a code for you guys to get a discount. It'll be in the show notes. But how would you tell them to use it?
Okay. So like we've talked about, 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams per day. So that what it comes out to be is about 2 to 4 droppers worth. And when I say droppers, the dropper, it's a graduated dropper and it will give you the amounts, but it will only fill up about halfway. And so that equals, so 2 droppers is about 1,000 milligrams, 4 droppers is 2,000 milligrams. And now I've created something called the DHA regimen, and this is not something that you buy. It's not a program. It's not a supplement in and of itself. It's information around what we're talking about, Jay, and it's backed by fish oil studies and algae oil studies on humans, showing just what we talked about. If you take 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams per day, on average, the average person will be able to raise their omega-3 index percentage to that healthy level of 8 to 12%. And that's what we want to do. And when we take DHA, just like we've talked about, you're actually going to be stimulating neurogenesis in several different ways. It's also activating the expression of several different genes within the brain and nervous system uh, for optimal function of the brain and nervous system. So the 3 different ways we talked about with neurogenesis, but then activating different genes separately too. And then, like as well, the healthy inflammatory response aspect as well. If we have a good healthy inflammatory response within the brain, we know that we're going to be more energy efficient.
Beautiful, man. For somebody right now who's already living a fully optimized life, a Jay Campbell or Lance Schuttler listener, like how would you just tell them to incorporate this, it's from a specific timing of usage?
So I would take it, like I personally take it when I'm going to go outside or go be outside, or before I meditate or pray, or before I'm going to do a show, or before I'm going to read or do something that utilizes brain activity. Um, that's the best way to do it. You can take it with fats. You can take it on an empty stomach. It will absorb, like DHA will absorb very
Yeah.
well. Of course, if you're not in good health, the absorption is going to be lower. But because this is a fatty acid that our human physiology has become so used to, it will absorb quite optimally. And there's another aspect to this too, that DHA, Jay, has not needed to evolve in its structure or function in, let's say, millions or billions of years, or whatever the real number is of evolution or creationism. I mean, I'm not talking about Darwinian evolution, but just biological evolutionary concepts. There's a neuroscientist in the UK who published this paper in 2012 talking about how DHA is actually more important than DNA itself. And
I
the
believe that.
the reason is that, again, it hasn't needed to change its structure or function because it's been so efficient in what it's doing. And again, the whole brain and nervous system is dependent on adequate amounts of DHA, of course, other compounds. But if we're getting enough DHA, you're literally going to be supercharging and priming your brain and nervous system to be as efficient and optimized as possible. And so someone who's already living a healthy lifestyle, and let's say you're eating, some fish or salmon or oysters throughout the week, you would have to take 5.5 to 11 servings of salmon per week to get that 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams. And so let's say a person's having it a couple times a week. This becomes a very easy solution to add in to your lifestyle and diet to get up to those levels of 1 gram or 2 grams per day, because that's what is shown to actually elicit major, major benefits.
Yeah, it's funny. Well stated, man. Your wealth of information on this stuff. Way back in the day when I was much more into essential fatty acids, and as you know, my good friend is Dr. Udo Erasmus. I should actually connect you with him, and he can go so deep on DHA. But I'll do for my listening audience that will watch this in the rerun. I'm going to do a promotion for Lance's pure sourced product to the email list with a discount for you guys to buy this. And then, Lance is obviously a genius, and he'll connect with my copywriter, and he'll write, an email that will go deeper. But I wanted just to add, from my personal knowledge, and you're way deeper on this than I am. There was a time I actually knew about DHA, or it was more fresh on my mind, but I'm totally with you. It is a massively important substance for the brain, bro. Like, you didn't even mention this, but I'll say it, Fukushima has contaminated the water supply of the world. As you know, that's why we drink this, right? We know that this is the last underground, non-contaminated from fission reaction, nuclear contamination, whatever the hell you want to call it, on the planet. That's not a joke. Now, yes, you can do deuterium depleted water, which I have over there. But if you're buying a water source, like over the counter, publicly available, this is it, guys. Don't come at me with this, what do you call it? Filtration system and Kangen and all of these things. It's like, it doesn't mean shit. You cannot remove unless you're coming from a source that does not have that contamination in it. So to your point on salmon, bro, like, when was the last time you actually even ate salmon that didn't taste contaminated? I'm in the salmon capital of the world in Southern California, and you can't even get good salmon. I remember when you used to be able to eat salmon, it would melt in your mouth. The texture of salmon would melt in your mouth, and now it's contaminated. So again, if there was ever a more important reason than to purchase Lance's pure DHA source, I don't know of a better one. I'm a biggest salmon dork ever. It used to be a staple. Lance, way before I knew you, in my 20s with my first wife, that's all I ate. I literally ate salmon, broccoli, and a very small amount of brown or white rice. And then when I found out about phytic acid and brown rice, I stopped eating that, and it's white rice. And, so the reality is like, you can't even get good salmon. Like, don't tell me you can, because you can't. And don't say, oh yeah, but my shit is grown in a freshwater stream in the United States, wild caught. Nope. Everything's contaminated. There's nothing. Yeah, dude, this is a serious thing. We could do a whole show on this, on like the reality of, if you're, in the United States, topologically, everything is contaminated. You can't even say grass fed or wild caught anymore, because what are they avoiding? The environment? The shit's still falling from the sky. Right. So, again, I'm not trying to like fear and doom and gloom people, but the reality is like, you got to get, like you said, from the source. There's no way you can't get it. I don't even eat salmon anymore. It was like one of the greatest delicacies of my life. I lived to eat salmon, and I'm telling you, I don't remember having salmon that melted in my mouth since probably 2015 or 16. Like, the planet is contaminated. And I'm going to Peru in 3.5 weeks. And, even up there, as fresh as the food is, and as, wild and organic and, really just, 17, 18,000 feet, like, the people up there told me that their fish is contaminated now too. So it's pretty difficult to escape this. So, I mean, guys, if you're watching this and you're on the rerun right now, tomorrow or a couple days from now, whatever, go to the link below this, click on there, whatever the discount is, and the affiliate code, and buy this stuff. I mean, I'm going to get it myself. I mean, my wife is actually Monica takes DHA. I don't know what brand, but she takes it now. So, I mean, I'm going to start getting this. So Lance, before I end the show, man, phenomenal. But if somebody wants to podcast with you, bring you on their show, interview you, what is the best way for them to do that?
You can go to my website and contact me. I am available. I mean, it depends. That's the best way, through my website. That's the most direct way to contact me. Certainly interested in that, and, going on different shows and talking about this stuff, because this really is my passion about so many different things, but neurogenesis in particular, and quantum biology and light, and just health and nutrition, science, spirituality, all that stuff. Thank you, Jay.
No, of course, I love you, brother. And you guys, obviously, if you listened, and I know many of you did, Lance is an alchemical master. So, reach out to him, go to his website, goascentnutrition.com, buy the DHA, go to his personal website, lanceschuttler.com, and reach out to him. And remember, raise your vibration to optimize your love creation. We will see all of you guys very soon.